Coronation Street's Summer Spellman joined forces with a surprising ally in a bid to get revenge on Theo Silverton. Summer decided to give Carl Webster the £10,000 he previously asked for, though she changed the terms of the agreement. In tonight's episode, a fragile Todd Grimshaw returned back home after being discharged from hospital. He received a warm welcome from George Shuttleworth, Mary Taylor, and Christina Boyd, who were relieved that Theo's abuse had finally come to an end. As the trio continued to support him, Todd decided it was time to call his mum Eileen and tell her about his ordeal. He then shared his plan to return to the flat to get some new clothes, with George insisting on going with him. At the flat, Todd quickly stuffed some nearby items into a bag and tried to make a hasty exit, fearing that Theo could enter at any minute. When the bell rang, he ran out in a panic, realizing just how traumatized he was from the relationship. Later, Todd recuperated with his loved ones and shared his plan to get away from Weatherfield for a while with Sarah Platt. Summer was heartbroken to hear that he was being forced out of his home, though she agreed that he needed a break. Meanwhile, a sheepish Carl arrived at Chariot Square Hotel to make amends with Debbie after she discovered him trying to extort money from Summer. He explained that he was scared of Theo and had since told Summer everything he knows about Billy's death. In the final scenes of the episode, a furious Summer decided to take matters into her own hands in order to get justice for Todd. She arranged to meet with Carl in the Ginnel and shared her plan to get rid of Theo for good. "I want Theo gone. I want him to rot in prison for what he's done," she declared, offering him £10,000 to make it happen. "But it needs to be good enough for the police. Right, I won't pay anything until he's locked up." Having landed himself in Debbie's bad books recently, Carl agreed to Summer's terms and assured her that he'd get it done. But with his loyalty always lying with the highest bidder, can he truly be trusted? Summer had always been the sensible one. While chaos seemed to follow half of Weatherfield like a shadow, Summer Spellman liked order. She liked plans, revision timetables, neatly folded laundry, and knowing exactly where she stood with people. But lately, life had become anything but neat. And, unfortunately, Theo was at the center of it. The whole street had been whispering his name for weeks. Theo Silverton had arrived in Coronation Street carrying secrets heavier than his designer hold-all. Charming when he wanted to be, cold when crossed, and impossible to fully trust, he had quickly made himself part of everyone's business.
Todd had warned people about him.
Sarah said he was trouble wrapped in a nice smile. Even Billy, usually the first to believe the best in people, had admitted something about Theo felt off. Summer had agreed, at first, but then she saw something no one else had.
Fear.
It happened outside the cafe one rainy Tuesday afternoon. Summer had been heading back from the corner shop when she spotted Theo standing alone near the Ginnel, phone pressed tightly to his ear. "You can't keep doing this," he hissed. His voice was low, sharp, panicked. Summer froze by the flower display outside the shop, hidden enough not to be noticed. "No, listen to me. I said I'll sort it. Just give me time." A pause. Then Theo's expression changed completely. Whatever the person on the other end had said, it hit hard. His face drained of color. "No," he said quietly. "You leave her out of this." Summer frowned. "Her?" Theo glanced around nervously, and Summer quickly ducked behind the display. When she looked back, he'd already stormed off, rain soaking through his coat. She should have ignored it. She should have walked away and forgotten the whole thing. But Summer had learned something important in Weatherfield. Secrets never stayed buried, and if someone said, "Leave her out of this," there was usually a very good reason not to. So she followed him. Not literally. She wasn't about to turn into some amateur detective from a daytime crime drama, but she paid attention. She noticed Theo checking over his shoulder more often. She saw him arguing quietly with a woman outside the precinct, a woman no one seemed to know. She watched him snap at Todd, then apologize 5 minutes later like nothing had happened. And then came Friday. The knock on the flat door at number 11 came just after 8. Summer opened it to find Theo standing there, drenched and clearly desperate. "I need your help." She blinked. "Why are you here?" "Because you're smart," he said bluntly. "And because, unlike everyone else around here, you actually think before you judge." That's not exactly a glowing compliment. It's all I've got. Summer folded her arms. This should be good. Theo hesitated. For the first time since arriving in Weatherfield, he looked stripped of all confidence. There's someone threatening me, he admitted. Someone from my past. They want money. A lot of it. Summer stared. You're being blackmailed? Yes. And you came to me because if I go to the police, they'll drag everything out. My family, my business, all of it. And if I pay them, they'll never stop. Summer let out a disbelieving laugh. So, your solution was to knock on my door? I need someone who can help me get proof. She nearly shut the door in his face. Absolutely not. But Theo caught it gently. Please. That word changed everything. Not because Summer trusted him, but because desperate people told the truth in ways proud people never did. She sighed. 5 minutes. Then you leave. Inside, Theo explained everything. The woman from the precinct was named Danielle. Someone he'd once trusted. Someone who knew details about an old financial scandal he'd narrowly escaped years ago. Nothing criminal, he insisted, just enough messy truth and bad decisions to ruin reputations and relationships if it came out the wrong way. Danielle wanted cash. And now she was threatening to involve people close to him if he didn't pay. Including Todd. Including Summer. Summer sat in silence. Finally, she said, You realize this sounds like exactly the kind of drama I spend my life trying to avoid. I know. And yet here you are. I know. She rubbed her temples. You're impossible. I've been told. Another silence. Then Summer surprised even herself. I'll help. Theo blinked. Seriously? Don't get excited. I'm helping because I hate manipulative people, and blackmailers are top of that list. Also, if this explodes and hurts people I care about, I'll be furious. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. There's the glowing kindness I was hoping for. Push it, and I'll change my mind. Their plan was simple.
Too simple, probably.
Danielle had arranged to meet Theo at the hotel bar on Monday night for the first payment. Summer would be there too, quietly recording the conversation from a nearby table. If Danielle made clear threats, they'd have proof.
Easy.
Except nothing in Coronation Street was ever easy. Monday arrived with all the tension of a thunderstorm. Summer sat in the hotel bar pretending to revise, laptop open, hands shaking under the table. Across the room, Theo looked like a man waiting for sentencing. Then Danielle arrived. Confident, elegant, dangerous. She sat opposite Theo and smiled like they were old friends. Summer hit record on her phone. For 10 agonizing minutes, she listened. Danielle was clever, careful with her words, never quite crossing the line. She talked in hints, suggestions, loaded smiles. Theo stayed calm, until she mentioned Todd. If he knew who you really were, Danielle said softly, I wonder if he'd still look at you the same way. Theo's jaw tightened. Leave him out of this.
There it is, she said.
That's what I wanted. Summer leaned forward. This was it. Danielle smiled wider. 5,000 by Friday. Or I start talking. Clear enough. Summer stood too quickly, chair scraping loudly against the floor. Danielle turned and recognized her instantly. Well, she said. Looks like Theo brought backup. Theo muttered under his breath. Summer walked over, pulse racing. No, she said firmly. He brought someone who's tired of bullies. Danielle's eyes narrowed. You think one little recording changes anything? It changes enough. For a second, nobody moved. Then Danielle laughed. A cold, dismissive sound. You're braver than he is. She stood, adjusted her coat, and leaned close to Theo. This isn't over. Then she walked out.
Gone. Just like that.
Summer let out the breath she'd been holding for what felt like an hour. Theo stared after her. She'll be back. Maybe, Summer said. But next time, she'll know she doesn't get to scare people for free. He turned to her. Why did you really help me? She considered lying. Instead, she told the truth. Because I know what it feels like when your mistakes start feeling bigger than you are. And because sometimes people deserve one chance to fix things before the whole world decides who they are. Theo looked genuinely moved. That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me in years. Don't make it weird. Too late. By the time they returned to the street, news had already started spreading, as it always did. Todd wanted answers. Billy wanted reassurance. Sarah wanted gossip. Summer gave them all the same response. It's handled. Todd cornered her later outside the Rovers. You helped him? Yes.
Why?
She smiled slightly. Because sometimes the most surprising deals are the right ones. Todd shook his head. You know, for someone so sensible, you make some very strange decisions. Occupational hazard of living here. As she walked away, Summer realized something important. Helping Theo hadn't been about rescuing him. It had been about choosing who she wanted to be. Not just the careful girl who avoided mess, but someone brave enough to step into it when it mattered. Theo still had secrets. Weatherfield still had drama. And Summer still had exams, stress, and a life she was trying to hold together. But for once, she felt strangely certain. She'd made the right deal. And if Theo wasted that second chance?
Well,
Summer Spellman had never been afraid of telling people exactly what she thought. That Theo was about to learn might be far more terrifying than any blackmailer. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.